Okay, perfect. Okay, we're live. Hi, everyone, and welcome back again for another Saddle Fit Talk. Today, we're going to be talking about modern dressage and some of the types of riding that are normalized for that. Okay, we're live. Hi, everyone, and welcome. And we're also going to be going over, some more saddle fit stuff and answering questions if anyone has them, if there's time near the end. So just comment like any questions you have throughout the course of this, and we'll try to field them as we go. And I'll let Jochen introduce himself and take it away because he's the one with all of the expertise on this.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Shelby. Has that echo stopped? Because I heard you talking twice.
Yeah. I think it stopped. It was because I had the page open with the live stream on. So
Okay.
it should be stopped now. Perfect.
All right. I think I'd like to start by talking a little bit about why I find this so passionate. This was my last 4-star 3-day event horse I had. And as a 3-day eventer, we ride the dressage a little bit different as an international competition horse. And we see a lot. Oops.
So sorry. Yeah. No, I thought I clicked the thing closed. My Zoom page I just lost. Oh, here we go. Oh my goodness. I don't know what just happened.
You just turned your camera off.
Okay, I put it in a minimized view on my screen. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I start again. So again, hello, and this is my horse. This I think that was at the German Championship, just before we went to the European Championship. And as a eventing horse, most of the eventer know. Event horse has to know the difference when he has to be clearing a solid fence.
Mm-hmm.
And there are certain fences where we brush over or brush through, like especially on the track. Like you see that in steeplechase, where the horse actually jumps through the fence. And of course, as the event has a stadium jumping, where a slight touch, the pole will fall. So what the horse needs is extreme flexibility with his back. And I also remember that going back to dressage, when I started and riding, training for eventing, I did all kinds of horse shows, not just eventing. I went to jumping. My horse jumped up to Grand Prix jumping. I didn't go all the way to Grand Prix in dressage, but Prix St. George. And even at the lower level in dressage, we had, after each test, there was a jump on the side. And that jump calls Gehorsamsprung. And Gehorsamsprung means, does your horse listen to you? Has your horse been trained to go over small fences? And if the horse is trained properly, he will jump that small fence.
Interesting.
Now, there is many, many reasons they took that jump out. Because they thought, well, if we have a jump in it, most adult amateur rider would start late. They never want to jump. So we wouldn't get enough entry. Now the experts who work on horses, such as physiotherapy, osteopath, chiropractor, massage therapist, or trainer, say the other reason they moved it away, with today's hyper extension, also known as roll curve, the new way they are riding dressage now, the horse is so sore on the back, he will refuse all the time. So most horses wouldn't jump over that small fence. So there's different opinions.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm taking it a step further because I have my small judge's license. It's not valid anymore, but back in Germany. And we were supposed to ring the bell when a horse did a circus trot. Now, what is a circus trot? A circus trot is kind of like the Spanish walk in trotting, when the front legs go really, really, really high and the horses are not parallel with their front legs, with their back legs in the trot. Now, classical books writing books, writing lessons, writing masters for years, always have explained the horse's back doesn't oscillate. The horse cannot articulate through the SI joint, and therefore the haunches, the hind leg cannot come underneath the sternum, and therefore he can, or the horse cannot be light on the forehead. So he will not lift the back up. So if I'm thinking of the show trot, what dressage riders used to be warned with the bell, and if you didn't stop that show trot, you were kicked out of it. Today you get tense to win the Olympics. It's completely reversed what is written. So ask yourself this question: how could that happen? Ask yourself the question: how is that possible that with all these new medicine, new technology, this actually is not eliminated anymore? So I always say, no matter when you have different opinion or you have different angles, I always say, follow the money. Money means think about what can happen here. So I've got lots of pictures to share with you.
That's so interesting. I didn't know that they used to have like a jump and stuff that they, and like and the circus trot thing too. That surprises me a lot, actually, considering how far gone it has become.
It's really bad. I mean,
yeah.
So openly, I have heard people saying to me, if we would do it, it's hard to run a horse show as is. We hardly have any entries. Nobody's watching anywhere. So we really do it just for a small group. And if you tell them to jump, nobody would do dressage.
It's so weird.
So what is really the word dressage? Dressage is a French word for training. And when we want to reinvent the wheel, you gotta ask yourself why, or what's the purpose here? Maybe I want a wheel which spins faster, what makes me more money. Okay, so I got to get rid of a couple of spokes in the wheel. And just like any wheel, what has spokes, you start removing the spokes, the wheel will fall apart. So here, back to what I was saying, and what has that to do with saddle fitting? If the horse brings his back up, so you can see when I switch his tummy together, how this comes up. Now look at the ribs, how that changes. So the horse can have either that back, so the horse gets properly ridden, back goes up. He articulates here where that circle is. This is the sacroiliac joints. So he can actually bring his hind leg underneath. If his hind leg is more underneath, he's lighter in the front. And then his legs are parallel in the trot, okay? And not what we see in hyperextension, hollow in the back, false elevation, leg goes up like a circus horse, and the hind leg is way out. So the front legs really bend through here, okay? So the fetlocks even hits the ground. And because, as I said, follow the money, you can imagine what that means to the entire industry, and not just to the trainer, because now I can have a horse for 6 years in the Grand Prix. No, with saddle making, because as a saddle manufacturer, I got to think about it. Do I make saddles like it always has been done? So the saddle is carried in the center. So when the horse brings his back up, the front is loose, the back is loose of the saddle, so the back can swing, walk, trot, canter. And here's the best part. If the back comes up and the front of the saddle gets loose, there is so much shoulder freedom. Right? If you ride a horse hollow or hyperextension or roll cure, this is physics. This is biomechanics. This is something top international trainer and veterinarians have warned. If you ride your horse wrong, right? You ride that horse behind the vertical. The horse will go hollow here and massive pain here and there. There's a video written by this man, If Horses Can Speak. I was part of that video. He wrote 5 books, Dr. Gersh Hoishman, about the, I have no other words. He doesn't use the word pathetic, but I use it. how pathetic today's riding has become because of money. Now you can ask yourself, what do you care? You make money. You're a saddle maker. Well, everybody, and I say this every time, who is into horses, 100% does it because they will have a passion for horses. If you're into horses and you started with passion and all of a sudden you run out of money and you say, oh, the only way I can do it is by hurt the animal, well, then you're a pretty low human being, because I don't stand for anybody who purposely hurts animals, dogs, horses, or any kind of animal. If your person says, well, I'm a professional, and if I want to make a medal, I have to ride like this because the judges now give high points, now we got a problem. And I remember I was a member from a club called Cinephone. Cinephone, it was in 1996 at the World Championship in Aachen. Top Olympic judges, Dr. Gerd Heuschmann. Back then, the US coach, German Balkenhol, was there. So the people says, we have the problem because the kids follow what the professionals do, their idols do. And if they say, oh, just seesaw the head down, or just do circus trot, or and put drawings to the curb, like, it's bizarre what you see. I mean, I'm embarrassed to say, in the last Olympics, how many times professionals got caught doping, and unfortunately,
it's so bad.
Right, it is horrible.
It was like the worst Olympics for horse sports ever in terms of how it made people look, I think. Like, it was so stupid.
You remember that, right? And it's not just the German who got caught. It's them all. And then the judges said, well, if the judges don't smarten up, the trainers do what the judges give high marks on it. So who are we blaming here? Excuse me. So the true question comes to it is, not only has the trainers, the judges, the professional, also the breeders have changed. And not making horses hyper flexion. Like you see 3-year-olds where that fetlock hits the ground. Look how high the fetlock is off the ground.
Yeah.
It's super sensitive, super flexible. From a saddle fitting world, a nightmare because they're super short. So we know that humans over the decades get normally bigger and not smaller. So we see an incline of seat sizes. We need bigger saddles. And we also see that the horses go smaller. So if we need a bigger seat and a smaller saddle support area, something is off. So from a design, like the breeders now breed these hyperextension horses to get a wonderful horse, that's an issue because you don't see horses like this anymore, where these horses are parallel. Okay, you don't see that anymore. You see more and more pictures which are, I hate to say it, but going backwards. And I cannot stress enough how important it is. We got to look at the horse's expression. Horses don't lie. Look at their eyes, their ears, their mouth. They just don't lie. So now you can say, oh, it's a saddle fitting, oh, it's a shoe, oh, it's the bitting. And all this yin-yang starts. It starts with the training. It starts with, when do I sit on the horse? There's this big debate. We got the skeleton from the rider, the skeleton of the horse, but on the spine, there's 32 growth plates. This shoulder blade is not fully developed until the horse is 4 years old. 6 the growth plates. So you can imagine if you ride a horse hyperextended, hollow, very, very early when the growth plates are not really mature, you can only imagine how that deforms the back. And of course, the saddle industry says, now I got a problem. Now the old way, how they're supposed to sit, nicely in the center, when the horse brings up the back, it frees up the front and the back, so no digging in the loin, no digging in the front, doesn't work anymore. So if you make the tree rounder, it rocks like crazy. So now they make actually saddles for that sport. We call it the hyperextension fit.
Wow, really? Oh
Yeah.
my God.
So the hyperextension fit, it's nasty. Why is it nasty? Because again, if you think about in a bow and an arrow, this is the string of the bow, right? So when let me explain it a little bit different. If this is the back muscle here, which you want to have loose and supple, okay, that needs to stretch and that needs to tighten.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and if that stretches, then this tightens. So the back goes hollow. So you can see here, this is what I was talking about with hyperextension. You see many, many horses where the fetlock literally hits the ground. And there is amazing YouTubes. Maybe Mary Claire can put that link for you below or send it to you and you can post it.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
And as he calls the piaffe, the handstand piaffe. Handstand piaffe. So everybody who has written in piaffe knows they got to come from behind first. Like horse A, the back is up, haunches underneath. And then the piaffe, the hind leg is almost underneath. And then they're very, very light in front. On the video shown by the breeding expert from Germany, she speaks a very broken English, but it's very, who am I to talk? But it's very, the pictures say more than 1,000 words. The horse is doing it reverse. It's piaffing on the forehand and the back hops this, like it's hopping. It's the most bizarre thing. And it's definitely a video you want to see.
Yeah, no, that's,
yeah.
I can't believe that they're making saddles for hyperflexed horses. That's crazy.
Yeah. So she's a breeder. She talks how bad the horses are bred because follow the money. This is what people want now. I, on the other hand, what am I fitting? This horse or that horse? So if we look at the different type of saddle fitting, then we need to look at it and says, okay, what is all there? Okay. So one of the system, what really works great is the bridge fit. Because if it digs in the front and digs in the back, the saddle won't move. The saddle will be hollow no matter what. It means no contact in the middle. Okay. But the bridge, the hyperextension, the modern sport fit, they call it, they make saddles which are purposely too long. So they dig in the loin, they push with the tree point, with the short tree point, push forward into the shoulder. So the horse gets that snap here again, that Spanish walk in the trot. Look at that leg versus that leg.
Wow.
And this is just the beginning. And never mind the open mouth and bleeding and all that yin yang. But saddlery says, hey, why don't I make a saddle what is bridging in the middle, doesn't even have a tree in the center anymore, just in the back. So the horses get that false elevation. And that false elevation you can see in the hyperextension fit, what comes in the Tennessee Walker or the equitation, where they make the saddle long. 24 is the smallest, 22 is the smallest, 26 is the longest. And the rider literally sits on the loin, so the hind leg is out. Now in their walk, at least the hind leg somehow comes underneath. Okay, and then their back, their shoulder drops, the whole sternum drops, horse's head comes back. And now he can't do that horrible thing because they put all the wood and chain and all the other junk on there. At least they don't break the horse in the pole and make them go behind the vertical, what you see in dressage.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You kind of see that here.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable what is out there. And when I see pictures like this, okay, doesn't matter what he does it. It's unbelievable. This horse is not geschlossen. Geschlossen means he doesn't bring his hind leg underneath and brings the front legs and the hind legs closer together. Mm-hmm. Now, when I say that, I mean closer together where? Well, the hind, as I showed before, the hind leg got to come underneath the front leg. Mm-hmm. So for me, as a saddle maker, I trying to avoid the atrophy, what comes from digging into the saddle or the holding line. But if the horse These growth plates form at 4 years. It's it, and end up, especially behind the withers, to hollow like this. We can imagine that people say, maybe I need to build a different tree. How can I make a saddle so people don't have to fit it so much? You bridge fit it. So this is an international horse. Look how little muscular this horse has in the butt. You can see, not maybe good picture, but this is a very deep rump. It's a big horse. 17,
Yeah, I would have thought that was like a lesson pony.
right? This is
I would have, yeah.
Look how super atrophied in the shoulder and absolutely no muscles.
That's
Right?
ridiculous. Especially like it's a dressage horse or is it a jumper?
It's a dressage.
Oh, really?
I
Oh
showed
my
you now one
God.
from Holland, one from Germany, and this one Switzerland. So it
That's
really doesn't matter.
insane.
It's everywhere the same. So if I know all these has happened, I mean, this is just the beginning. Then the saddle industry says, well, I got to make saddles for them. So if I'm going to go a step further, we say, forget saddles, go bareback. Right? So here we go again. They're doing the fancy, here they go treeless riding. Right? But if you look, the back is not up, it's hollow. Right? It's always on the forehand, of course. Boom, fetlock in the ground. Right? So that is not sustainable for these animals. And if I'm taking it a step even further and says, okay, is this now horse A or horse B? Clearly, right? Low on the forehand, boom, like that one, or hollow. So that back muscle cannot be loose and supple if the rider does not distribute the weight in the center. So this is a nasty topic, but the saddle does work. Otherwise, if you think about when the Spaniard came to North America, North American native had no saddles. Why do you think they went onto saddles? Okay, because if the weight is properly distributed, the horse brings it back up, is faster, and then all of a sudden they switch from no saddles to saddles. This is not talking about bareback bad or saddle bad. It's just, why do we have saddles?
Yeah.
And I always like to say, people and horses. At what point is it harmful to the horse? So if we follow Xenophon was a Greek militarist who rode 400 BC to his soldiers, black on white. He wrote down the training scala, what we still follow.
Oh, wow.
And that means we got to keep the back up to get the SI joints to work function. So his haunches came underneath the sternum, so he can do his sliding stop, be faster turn. But we do all kinds of things with horses. This is a special saddles for trick riders. Okay, so you've seen that probably before.
Yeah.
So when people ask, how do you fit saddles? Well, it depends what saddle we talk about. Okay, so this horse, look what he tries to do in order to take the pain away from the front.
That's so awful.
Right, and nature can't show it more. So if you don't want to do it, don't ride a hyperextended. I mean, at least these people don't crank the horse's face to the chest like you see in dressage.
Yeah.
And you have all other pictures. So what people do with horses, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I mean, these are moments of impacts. I chose those pictures on purpose because it looks good and looks cute when you shoot a goal, but it's tough on these animals. And in the saddle industry, why do we have a saddle? We want to connect it. We want to make it so the horse feels in one piece. So this here is in Italy, where they have that horse race without saddle.
Wow.
And then you have all the other trick riders. But back to the original topic from today is when we bring a human, which is a vertical spine to a horizontal spine, the interface, the saddle, has a job. brings this rider, no matter what you want to do, gentle to the area without interfering the bones, the shoulder, etc. Now, I'm not going to go into male, female rider. I'm just showing quick the difference between a space between the riders, male riders' butt cheeks, and the lack of space due to the fact that she has a shorter tailbone and more arc that makes a gluteus maximus when she is in balance further away. So both riders, male or female, when they're sitting on the drum floating down the river, they know immediately if I'm leaning left or right or too far forward or back, I fall in the water. So good riders trying to be balanced. That's what balance is, right? So obviously the right gender appropriate saddle is a key. And when I sit then with my sternum over the horse, the sternum, I now have a chance to do what Xenophon was writing to his soldiers, bring the back up, hind leg underneath. So most saddles are like this. But I don't want to sound like a broken record. If I don't do that, okay, if I don't provide a saddle, not my words, these guys, okay? These guys don't care if you're a fan of polo or jumping or dressage. These are professors who dedicated their life to helping horses. That's their motto, all bets work on, do no harm. So if they're telling me if the horse has physical damage after a certain pounds per square inch, and they're telling me the horse gets ridden hollow, will deform in the spine, nerve damage to atrophy to short life. Okay, so this is, they don't care if you relieve in hyperextension. They don't care if you say, well, you know how much money these days it costs to feed a horse? At 6 years, he has to be Grand Prix, and then I got to sell him to make money on it. Like the good Grand Prix horses, 20, 30 years ago, they went to 3-4 Olympics.
Yeah.
Now, if you're lucky, you get one there if it's not doped or muted. Right?
Jeez.
So this has to stop, and we know that right here, where this is the close-up from the vertebrae, where the nerves come out. And these holes will all close. Call it kissing spine, call it atrophy, call it hollow. Sure, you can cut with a saw while the horse is sedated in the barn. You can do it now, it costs only $2,000 to cut them, but you cannot open the holes where the nerves come out. So the pressure on the spine is tremendous. I'm going a little, it's awful. I'm going a little further than you asked me.
No, this is good. This is very good info.
Because I'm super passionate about it, and your listeners, and they listen to you because you're also passionate about it. And they get confused. Yeah, but so-and-so won a gold medal. Yeah, but how did they get there? How many horses did they have to go through? How long did the horse last? What happened to her back, to those riders? Because if you ride a horse hyperextended, again, you think I'm a doctor. I can't make comments like this. You can Google this yourself. If you're in a weird situation where your pelvis is not supported and you tip back here, okay, your disc will go bye-bye. Okay? So because your back is so sore, and this is just anatomy. So this will automatically happen to you. So if you ride your horse around, you don't need to deal with all this. So I think if I can bring one thing, one message across, I would love people to avoid horses with excess digging in the back, because some uneducated non-veterinarian person says, oh, it's good if the saddle is rigid. Where do you think all the pressure goes? The horse will let you know, will buck, and then eventually you see the holding line. How many horses have you seen like this before you have the lead path? Tons, right? And then, of course, you see all the deformation there.
That's insane. Yeah. I haven't seen any with the back that bad along the top, but that's insane.
Right? So
Poor thing.
you see riders like this, boo them, walk away, or just cut it out of your memory bank, because this is not sustainable. Not on the front leg, not hollow here or here. This horse is definitely not, we say in German, durchgelassen, supple, through, right? But it wins. Right? So I don't know how you feel about it, but I cannot go
No.
to shows anymore.
I think it's like it's embarrassing that like it makes everyone look bad, like regardless of whether or not you're guilty of what other people do, because if the judges are placing it, the assumption is that everyone agrees with that. So like people who aren't in the horse world think we're all crappy because of those people.
100%.
Yeah, which I really hate. But
And unfortunately, humans are quick to judge. And I understand that things cost a lot of money. That's kind of like our topic from last time. Everything rises, But does that mean you have to herd horses? Right? So those people know, the breeders, the professional. And if they don't know, they shouldn't be professionals. Judges, they should pick up their bell and go ding, ding, ding. There was a story when I was in Aachen at the World Championship in 1996. The judge literally says, if I would ring out so and so, then this person will say, I'm not coming to your show, and immediately have less spectator and less rider enter to ride against her. So the rider dictate to the judge how they want to be judged.
That should never be happening, because then it's like some people get like completely like that there's a different set of rules depending on who you are then, which that should never happen.
No, I'm glad that I'm old and retired. I don't have to be in the circuit anymore. But I know that it's a huge burden on judges, and only judges with good character, strength, and guts can make a difference. Okay, but they might show the horse to that person, or get a lot of clinics to that person. And as a trainer, you know yourself, there's a lot of money to be made in clinics in selling horses. So now, if I don't judge him correctly, even though it's totally incorrect and the horse is written like this, then I may not get invited anymore. So wouldn't that be nice that judges are not have two income?
Yeah, like there should be something to try to stop that, because that's kind of a conflict of interest. Like anytime if they're like working with another rider closely, they shouldn't be allowed to judge shows where those people are going.
Every single judge is given clinics.
Yeah.
So unless this whole system changes, the horse will always be at fault. I showed you with this horrible Tennessee Walkers, there is so much money. I mean, Coca-Cola took $1 million sponsorship away after a secret camera. So this lady had a button camera, walked in, says, oh, you're winning all classes. How are you doing it? And I really want to be on your team and blah, blah, blah. And she walks through the barn, interviews them and films them. And she caught this guy because every time the horse flinched, the horse gets kicked, right? Or gets hit.
Oh my God.
It's this horrible story. So when that went on ABC in the States, everybody got super upset. Coca-Cola took $1 million away from them, but they're still doing it. Right?
Yeah, there's not enough and judges too. I think there should be more emphasis on like teaching judges basic signs of stress and like subtle signs of stress, so that they include that in their judging. Because I find it so ironic that there's like a submission and suppleness like score in dressage, and then you see so many horses running around like wringing their tails and like chomping at the bit and just being uncomfortable. And it's like, how are you scoring them well for like suppleness and submission if they're that stressed and tense?
Right. And as I said, this session is not against you as a professional or judges. It is a vicious cycle with a massive money-making machine. Also in saddle world, it's so easy to sell a saddle.
Mm-hmm.
and fit it to the hyperextension fit where you make it clothespin. Clothespin means that you make the narrow channel so it pinches this multifidus muscle in the nerves, because that makes the horse immediately hollow, because all these
Mm-hmm.
saddles have like one thumb thick channel. So it
Yeah,
pinches the spine and it's long,
that's crazy.
right? And then we have the bridge fit. It puts axis pressure in the back so the hind leg goes out, and it pokes in the shoulder so the horse flicks his leg like this. So that's why this is the worst, because it combines the pinching on the spine and this digging in the loin and pinching on the shoulders and therefore on the nerves. So it is what it is. I think only through education, because there's many people who don't want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
They follow somebody leader. But
Yeah.
if it comes to saddle fitting, I always say to people, please ask what their education is, what they understand from riding. Are they riders themselves? Do they understand the difference between hyperflexion or roll-cure and dressage? You hear the new trend where, oh, I do classical dressage, just to make sure. Well, what is classical dressage? Spanish walk? Just Baroque? Cardio? Corbett? Like what they do in the Spanish riding school? So if we want to truly do good for the horse, then we need to go back, and I'm stealing the words from Dr. Gerd Heuschmann, who wrote 5 books from it. He says, only true professionals who understand, or amateurs who have taken the time to understand not just saddle fit, but also understand a little bit about basic 101 anatomy and physiology. You cannot put a horse on the bit before that horse has balanced itself. You cannot take the forwardness away. And that's why in the old days, the horse from 3 to 6 was called remonter. Remonter means a young horse ridden very slowly. Now, if you talk to you or other people who have many horses to ride, he says, I can't even really train him to making the fancy steps until he's 6. That's a lot of money to feed him for 3 years and ride him, right? So that's where everything gets out of balance.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they'll people are always looking for like confirmation biases so that they can just continue rather than like what's actually true, because there's a huge gray area. Yeah.
And that's why, people when they love horses, and they say, oh, saddle fit doesn't exist. It does not exist. In nature, they're free to have their head down and graze. It's nature. So only what works is ongoing saddle fit, while the horses change. And understand if I can't force my clients to ride like this when they ride like this. I can tell them what's happening to their back, and to their body, but I can only help him with pictures and show him what medical doctors say. If you ride a horse in hyperextension, your saddle constantly will bounce or move and never fit. You fit it to the clothespin fit and bridge fit, so it digs into the spine. But the saddle makes no difference. All the deformity here and the digging in the loin will happen because the horse cannot move the shoulders. Now, little recap, how important it is where the circle is here, where these lumbars are. Any pressure there, the horse hollows. Long meridian point. If you don't want the saddle digging in there, okay, look how far back that shoulder comes. How is that going to glide underneath if the saddle doesn't sit in the middle? So it's so black and white for me, but for most consumers, they most of the time come in when this happens. Dry spots, a swelling, the pain line. And I understand, it is confusing. And there are many aspects what changes the horse. But today's topic was, how does the saddle industry gets impacted by these hyperextension.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting. Like I didn't know all the stuff related to fitting, but that's unfortunate then too. Like people who even get properly fitted saddles, then it doesn't really help if they're riding their horse so hyperflex that they hollow out then they're gonna create damage regardless. So
Well, that's why I always say, get the fitter to watch how you ride. Okay? Because he can't change. He can't change how you ride. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
So if this guy is, I mentioned him many times, who is a professional trainer who has gone through the long apprenticeship becoming a good rider, but he's also, he was Germany's Olympic team coach. Vet. And he has 5 veterinarians. He had a clinic there. And you know what he did? He sold his clinic. He says, I did not go into veterinary medicine just to nerve burn and to cut and to inject steroids. That's not my job. And it got so out of hand that he says, I can't do it anymore.
Good for him.
And then now he became a huge influencer. And he talks worldwide. As I said, he wrote 5 books.
Yeah, I have one of them too, the Tug of War book that he wrote.
And that's right there. That if you only buy one, buy that one. You know, and that's also from the video, the same thing, Tug of War. So, like you said, you get the saddle fitter to watch how you ride, because if you ride your horse, hyperextension, and then all of a sudden you saw the light and says, that's not good. And you switch coaches and somebody gets your horse actually to not move hollow and on the forehand. Now it goes like this. How do you think your saddle is going to work? Not at all. Like you just said. It doesn't work at all. You need to understand, what do you want to do? You as a rider need to know, what do you believe in? What do you train? You say, my horse can do the short trot. My horse has great, and he's bringing us back up. No, it's not working. It's like I'm coming to an intersection, and I got a car, but can go both directions. When I turn the wheel, it goes left and right at the same time. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
So it's so ridiculous. It's not even fun. Yeah. So that's how the industry is with hyperextension.
That's a lot of really good information and something to think about, because I didn't realize, like I considered the fact that a like hollow back would fit a saddle differently, but I didn't realize that there's a whole like fitting like mindset specific to those types of horses.
And they're all out there. Way too long. I mean, these are slides from my presentation from the virtual custom fit system, but it's clearly, this is from almost 10 years ago. Okay, 8 years ago. Okay, so and these pictures out there, but people still do what they do, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Not everybody. I get it.
That's crazy. No, it's happening way too much still. At least like people are starting to come more aware, but then you have like so many people that believe the wrong side of things, that they think that the amount of people who believe it means that it is true. And that's the concerning part, for sure. It's very hard to re-educate people who have so many people perpetuating the same ignorance, and then they also never notice when their horses are stressed. Like I've noticed it with lots of horses where the horse has to be so stressed before it actually gets noticed as like stress. Otherwise it's just like, oh, this horse did something out of nowhere, and it's like never.
So if you look at this here, this area here and the withers. So this is the middle area of the saddle. So the old days, look how wide the saddle was in the middle. So when the horse's back came up, okay, so the most weight bearing surface was here. So this area became free in the front, and that made the tree even flare out in the front. And now the hyperextension saddles, super narrow here, super long and big here. So you do want to have more weight under the saddle in the center, less weight in the back and in the front. So when the horse moves, it moves up and down. So in the downward transition, we have even pressure. But when the horse springs up the back, demonstrate here, that allows the shoulder to be able to slide and move. This is extreme. But if you pay close attention to the contraction in the muscle and how that bone slides back and forth, then you can really see if you have a tree with digs in it, it's painful. So they have to flick it up. I mean, this could, you can say, well, I have professional riders here again, bang, right? And pull. And what does the computer show? Massive digging in the front.
Interesting.
And no matter where you turn, where you look, this is now not an international horse, but you've seen that video too. There's everything ceased. You know, all the spine, nothing is moving anymore. This was painful. And unfortunately, these are the horses with the biggest back problems because they're so tough. Not Arabs.
Poor things. Yeah, I feel bad for my Arab.
People say, what do I do? As I always say, get your saddle fitted to fit the saddle on the pink bar, stay away from the spinal nerves, lumbar area, bladder meridian point, and this. Hyperextension fit, focus on all the points above and stay away from here, because then I get my horse to do the short trot, which is absolutely disgusting, but unfortunately high rewarded.
Yeah, hopefully change will come too, as I'm hoping like with more people just changing how they're riding, the judges are going to be forced to change how they judge. Otherwise they're not going to have anyone who's going to want to show then.
Yeah. The only thing I think is going to happen, more and more people dope horses in Olympics eventually, because everything is so expensive. Olympics will cut the equestrian out of the sport. This will be a huge impact on the economy, because then a lot of young riders say, I don't ride. It's not even real sport, not even Olympics. So there's less people going to riding, less horses, less everything. And very few people will have horses who do it because they can feed their soul, they have a companionship, they have a friend. And as I mentioned many times, it is still 78% of all riders who are what we call adult amateur riders, who love the horse, never go to shows, and they do it because it gives them peace of their mind, and they love the horses, and they're trying to do their best.
Yeah.
And those people, they're asking questions, and they're asking the right people's question, not the people who just say, yeah, this is a popular saddle and big riders ride in the saddle, blah, blah, blah. No, they're not those kind of comments.
No, that's I think change is coming. It'll just happen slowly, unfortunately.
I just hope that I'm wrong and it's not going to be kicked out of the Olympics.
I think that that very much depends on how quickly people change, because if they don't, it will, and then they're all gonna freak out when it happens. But like, they've had so many decades to change a lot of stuff and they've chosen not to. But like, I think it's gonna happen if no one changes, especially after last Olympics. They're gonna be under a microscope at the next Summer Olympics, and if people keep screwing up, it's gonna like completely ruin the public perception of equestrian sports, which it already has. But yeah.
Well, I work with Schleese. I don't have much more to say.
Perfect. Yeah, no, that's really informative and great. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Yeah. And looking forward to doing another one on Instagram next time. So for anyone that wants to tune in again, we will be. And the Instagram ones are going to be on my main account page, just like this one. They're a little bit shorter than these ones, but still very informative. So highly recommend staying tuned for that. And thank you once again for coming on here and doing this, because this is such important information, and it's good for people to learn like the science behind why something's bad, rather than just hearing like, hey, don't do roll cur, that's bad.
Exactly. What's the science behind it? I think you hit the nails on the head.
Yeah.
There's many if you're more interested in that, you can go on our website, you can check it out, or you can have that as well.
All right.
Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye, everyone. Thank